Good morning, Team Alabama. We are ready for more Don't You Dare Read This, Mrs. Dunphrey. We're on page 61. So try to add a few more facts today. Let's shoot for another 5 or 10. Don't stop at 50. Shoot for 70 facts and get those extra credit points. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit on the bottom of page 60. I went over to Dad and I actually kind of shoved his chest a little. I was mad and stupid and I said, "We don't need you. We were having a great Christmas Eve without you." I must stop there for a minute. Remember, Dad he took off and he was gone for 2 weeks, and then he all of a sudden shows up at Christmas and he's playing Santa Claus. And she's mad because how that would confuse Matt, and that's not fair to him, thinking that, why Dad leave for 2 weeks and now all of a sudden he shows up with presents? That wasn't really true. I tried to make Christmas cookies for Matt, but I didn't put enough flour in or something, and they were all too runny and burnt, and the presents I bought looked measly under the stupid silver tree that we still have from when I was little. Mom didn't get anybody anything because she lost her Christmas money, and Matt just had some homemade stuff. And then I said, "Who asked you to come here?" Dad looked a little confused himself for a minute, and he's not used to being stood up to, or maybe I just couldn't tell what he was thinking behind the Santa beard. Then he said, "For your information, your mother asked me to come here, and last time I checked, we are the parents, and we make the decisions around here." "Funny thing," I said, "there must not need to be any decisions made except once a month or so." And then he hit me. Knocked me back into the tree, and I landed on the box that had Mom's robe in it and smashed it. Matt screamed, "Tish!" And at the same time that Mom screamed out, "Ray!" the tree fell over behind me and all the Christmas lights went out at once. All I could think was, Matt's not supposed to see this. He's not supposed to think Santa Claus acts this way. Mom started pleading with Dad to ignore me, and Dad started yelling back, and then they were outside yelling at each other so loud that the neighbors had to have heard. And I heard Dad say, "I know when I'm not wanted." And then I heard his truck start, and then all we could hear was Mom crying, and that's been it. He hasn't been back at all. Mom told me yesterday at breakfast, "Well, you drove him off. He left town again." I don't know how she knows. From some of his buddies down at the Alibi Inn, I guess. But she hasn't said anything else to me, just looks at me real angry and tight-lipped. Matt looks at me kind of mad-like too. Sometimes he's still confused. I've tried to talk to him, to tell him that I didn't mean to make Dad go away, and to tell him that I'd like to, if Dad were around all the time, being nice and all, but that's just not how things are. Matt nods his head and says, "Uh-huh," when I asked him if he understands, and when I asked him if he's upset with me. I know he doesn't understand, though. I know he spends almost as much time crying as Mom does. If Grandma were still alive, she would understand. She would tell me that I did the right thing, I think. Or would she be mad at me too? Okay, guys, let's add some facts here. Grandma was always super supportive with Tish about Dad, and she felt like she could talk to Grandma about Dad. And Matt is confused. He doesn't understand why his parents are acting this way. What's another fact that you have? Somebody down at the Alibi Inn keeps telling Mom about Dad. Mom's depressed. She's still staying in bed. What else can you add? It's strange how it's such a relief now to go work at the Burger Boy. I don't have to think at all there. Just punch in the orders and wipe down the tables and pull the French fries and the onion rings out of the fryer when the buzzer goes off. I went over Bud's head and asked Mr. Seagrave to schedule me for as many hours as possible over break. Nobody else wants to work, so I'm getting almost 30 hours this week. Tish, okay, your first 3 entries are rather short, but your last one more than makes up for that. I'm impressed that you were inspired to write during the break. That shows a real commitment as a journal keeper. You might add the word inspired as a vocab word, or commitment if you want. Those might be 2 you can add. Page 64, January 12th. Don't read this, Mrs. Dunphrey. Yeah, right. I'm such a committed journal keeper. Thank you very much for the compliment. It makes the rest of my life okay. Not. Home still stinks. Bud's being mean to me at work. making me scrub the bathrooms every 2 hours. And at school, finals are next week, and I'm screwing up bad. I just can't concentrate. I even tried to study, but it just makes me do worse. I sat down with my biology book last night, and I ended up staring at the same page for 2 hours. Mom had the TV on too loud, and all I could hear was laugh tracks. It didn't make me feel like laughing. January 15th. Don't read, Mrs. Dunphrey. Everything stinks. Why should I care? I think Matt hates me now. He cries all the time and keeps asking, when's Daddy coming back? Last night I told him, look, you're 8 years old. Quit acting like a baby. Grow up. It didn't help. But he is 8, and why can't he be tougher? Oh yeah, and other great news, I think I flunked the geometry final today, and Rochelle is mad at me because I won't let her fix me up with that total skag, Billy Rogers. If you want to add the word skag, kind of a gross person.